coordination and compliance promotion, which I will talk about later.
I'm Marco Leonardi. I'm here at the European Parliament. I'm assistant to Mrs. Affairs, which is a member of the European Parliament. She's a colleague of Mr. Frunzulică, always a Social and Democrats group. She's in charge of the waste package review here at the European Parliament. I think that we have Anna here with us, that is one of the most experts in Brussels about waste. There are things for our chatting today is I can provide you which is the political situation about the new waste package directive, and Anna could explain you more in details some technical So what happened in the meantime? In the meantime, we have a new European Commission who decided to assess the new proposal, which was presented by Mr. Potocznik, which was the former environmental commissioner. The European Commission presented its 2015 working program and decided to withdraw this proposal. And to present and to assess better the condition, because then Anna will explain you the target which were fixed there, and you as a Romanian, you can understand how it could be difficult for all member states to reach 70% of recycling in municipal waste, because maybe on some side it was not taken into account the starting point. I can comment more on political. So what is going on now? There are several director general involved in a new drafting, which will take into account also the eco-design aspects, which will be maybe represent autumn end of the year. But I think that this is more or less the political situation, and then I don't know if you know the process. The European Commission will present a new proposal, and then the two co-legislators, the Parliament and the Council, will discuss about that, and it's supposed that they will find an agreement. But I think now that it's more useful, for example, that Anna could explain to you which were the main aspects of the past proposal, and be able to understand better which will be the perspective for
amending 6 directives. The most important amendments were done to the Waste Framework Directive, the Landfill Directive, and the Packaging Waste Directive. In the other directives, on end-of-life vehicles, electronic waste, and batteries, we basically only removed the reporting obligations that member state has until now. So I will focus on those 3. In the Waste Framework Directive, what we propose is, as Marco said, to increase the recycling targets for municipal waste. And it's true that we have proposed very ambitious targets, because not only we say 70% should be recycled, but we also want to harmonize more the way this is calculated. We want to have one definition of what is considered municipal waste, which should be the same for all member states. And we want to have one way of calculating it, so also harmonizing the point of measurement, where you measure what is recycling. Because the current rules that we have, they leave some flexibility to the member states. So there are member states who already now count the whole municipal waste that they produce, and there are other member states on the other extreme who only count the 4 materials: glass, metals, plastic and paper, which go anyway for recycling. And between that, we have some differences. There are member states who count what they collect separately as recycled. This again makes a difference to if you count what really goes into the recycling facility. So one big objective of our proposal was to make everything more comparable. And that's why we have proposed rules for that. We agree that what we propose is very ambitious, but we think that it is possible, and we think that it is necessary if we really want to change the system towards a circular economy. We've had examples of cities, for example, in some member states who achieved 70% of recycling just because they decided to do it and really put all their efforts into achieving this. But of course we take note of the argument of the member states saying that 70% by 2030 for everybody may not be possible or desirable, and that's why in our new proposal we will try to find a way to take into account that some member states are still landfilling almost 100% of their waste, and they might need more time, while other member states have already made more progress. So we will try to find a way to take this into account in our new proposal. The next big issue was the landfilling. I think everybody agrees that landfilling is a very unsustainable way of managing waste, that we are wasting resources, losing valuable resources, and that somehow we have to move away from landfilling. And so we have proposed quite ambitious targets to move away from landfilling. We have said that by 2025, the amount of non-hazardous waste that goes to landfill should be reduced to 25%. So that would be a big step, which we think would go in the right direction. And we have also proposed that by 2025, plastic, metal, glass and paper, again those four materials which are collected separately, should not be sent to landfill anymore. Those are the two binding obligations that we foresee for landfilling. And then we added an aspirational target that by 2030 we should only be landfilling residual non-recoverable waste, and that the quantity should be 5% of what is produced. But that is, of course, we know it's not a binding obligation. It was just an aspirational target to give a direction for waste policy to develop. In the packaging and packaging waste directive, we propose to increase the recycling targets that already exist now. We have seen in our reports that many member states have already achieved, almost all member states have achieved the target of 2008. And many of them have already overachieved them. So here also we see the possibility to go further and to increase the recycling targets. So this is a very, very brief overview. Another important issue that we propose is that bio-waste should be separately collected. We think that in order to achieve a 70% recycling target for municipal waste, you have to recycle or compost or however you want to do it, the biodegradable parts. And for that we think that separate collection is an important condition. I think those were the main elements, but if you have any, Mr. Timmermans has said that we have withdrawn the proposal not because we think that resource efficiency or circular economy is not a good thing. On the contrary, we think that it's very important, but we want to do it in a way which is a bit more realistic. On the one hand, so important to take into account the different starting points of the member states, make sure that what is agreed at European level is then also implementable.
This has never been said publicly. He publicly said that he wants to be more ambitious on both sides of production and
and then
the end of life. But this is the real thing, but it's not so public.
No, he said that he wants to be more ambitious by addressing the full circle, because many of the problems that we have with waste, if we address them already at the product cycle, we will not have them. So we are working on a new waste proposal, and at the same time, as Marta said, we want to do a communication with concrete actions that we intend to take in the short to mid-term to make product design more resource efficient and to close. No, I fully agree with you on that. Everybody in the Commission also sees this as a huge opportunity to create jobs, jobs in innovative sectors, in sectors that will remain in Europe, high value and everything. So we are fully behind this, and we're trying to push this in many ways, this development. So one way we're trying to push it is with legislation. Where we propose, we already have this very important obligation to have separate collection of waste. Because I think if you have separate collection of waste, then it would be stupid to send it to landfill, no?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
Because the landfill tax, we don't have landfill bans, we don't have landfill tax yet in Romania, and we don't have pay as you throw. None of these economical tools is applied. So today, 10 euro landfill cost against 30 to 50 euro sorting costs, of course, everyone doing business is looking for cutting costs.
No, so in addition to this legislative initiative, we are also trying to encourage member states who have problems with waste management. We have the so-called compliance promotion initiative. I don't know if you've been involved in that, where we have visited the member states, we have analyzed the situation there, and together with the member states we have agreed a roadmap with measures that should be.
Okay, there are some monopolistic approaches, less than half, and competitive approaches, more than half. And of course we favor competitive. We come from the real economy. I'm representing the extended producer responsibility compliance scheme called EcoProtech management. And we are very, very concerned about the way the extended producer responsibility is managed in Romania, and is basically somehow not very well regulated. And just like Mr. Damov mentioned, the disparity between the achievements of Romania in terms of reaching the targets and recycling of the municipal waste and the ideals of the European Commission is very high, and altogether this creates a lot of concern, and this is why I'm asking you about this.
No, we have also done a study comparing the different systems and analyzing what has worked well and what has not worked so well, and also comparing the levels achieved with the prices, and on the basis of that we have identified some best practice elements, and these we included into the directive in an annex. So we propose that if member states establish producer responsibility systems, then those systems should fulfill the essential requirements which we listed, one of which was that the system should have full responsibility for the waste until it is treated, and that it should be
for all the countries, and not a directive, but a regulation, saying that it is forbidden to throw away resources to the landfill.
Yeah, we tried it here in the directive, and we will continue to try it, but there's a lot of
subsidiarity and some specific national context. So
some member states don't like it when EU tells them what to do.
So somebody said that in a balance, the subsidiarity is more important than the resources that are just wasted away.
I didn't tell you this, but also in this way it's going to be difficult right now to switch, because, for example, you have some member states which have a ban for lead filling, and so it changes nothing. I can say if you make it in another country, you're going to change everything, and you must take into account all the different specificities. So that's I think the reason. Then it's the European Commission chose years ago to use a directive and a regulation.
Yes, no, but we tried it. We see that those member states who have reached the high recycling target, they also have landfill bans. So we see that the two things go together. But whatever we propose, it has to be agreed by a large majority of member states. And if some member states don't like it, then we have to think maybe of different ways.
To be more serious, it's the enforcement that maybe Anna could explain you about the directive, because it's, at least as I know, on landfill directive, the most problematic thing is the enforcement. Because the law is well written, but it's not enforced. So this is...
Yeah, we have big problems with illegal landfilling or landfills which don't comply with legislation, which pollute the environment. We're doing a lot on...
Which is completely distorted. So do you have any draft in this direction? Because again, the legislation will be reinforced again into direction of what is generated and not on what is recycled. And we want to deal with our partners, we consider partners, our Minister of
Well, maybe you
Environment.
can speak with your Ministry of Environment to find a simple way how this could be done, because somehow you have to trace the waste. It's collected, and somehow you have to trace it so that you know so and so much was collected or generated, and so much of that was recycled. So if you have a good idea and you can discuss it with your ministry, we would be grateful for.
First of all, I would like to thank the speaker. Thank you very much for coming and delivering these important presentations to my friends coming from Romania. In fact, I think that you should have and you have to do it in order to complain against the Romanian government if something you feel is bad. There are many ways to complain to the European Commission, the European Parliament, Council, and so on and so forth, considering this situation. Anyway, I think that we all together we have to protect this earth, this world, because it's unfortunately the unique one we have. Till now, we are living only on this planet, that we have to protect it as much as possible. We have to protect the woods. Let's not cut the trees as much as we did it. Let's protect the wells and the sources of water. Let's protect the environment by all means. Let's recycle as much as possible, because only in this way we might save this planet. I
had to close down 200 landfills. We noticed that some old landfills that should have been closed probably are still in use, which is not normal. So from our point of view, to finance a certain capacity of landfilling, it should be okay. Now what you are telling me is this is the way, somehow it turned against...
Just a moment, I don't want to interrupt you, but the fact is that if, let's say, in a certain area of Romania, let's say, I don't know, Călăraș County, there is a landfill founded by the European Union which has a capacity of, let's say, 100,000 tons, then the program, the European founding program, requires that this landfill should be filled up with this capacity. If we are trying, and you are trying, and this is a good proposal, then we will have to change this fact. We have to give us some sort of derogation that you say, okay, you have the landfill there, you can use it, the European Union found it, but you are not required to fill it up, because you will need to reach the target and not fill up the landfill.
Let's start with the basics, because all this, what we finance, basically, we are financing the first cell, let's say, because this is what we call the first cell of a landfill, which can be extended. Of course, our intention was to finance a limited capacity that should address maybe the needs to the next 10 years, not more. Now, the reason in which this landfill is filled, I mean, But this is a different story. And here we have the problem, because at the basis of this are the data that the member states provided. So we had some amounts estimated, you know, so if there is some, now you are telling me that basically in order to fill the landfill, which is of course not a need to fill it in 10 years, you can use it the next 20 years, 25, 30 years if needed. But this is not coming from the European Commission. I mean, we are not imposing. Of course, I mean, somehow the
It's a business plan accepted, which is obliging all material in the next period of time will go to the landfill. So we have,
but this is goes,
to steal the material for recycling.
But this goes against even the national legislation, because there again, you don't have, you cannot put
It's a very
the landfill.
sensitive problem.
Yes.
Let's say that a public tender
Yes.
is taken place and some company from the private sector must come and use and manage the landfill. And the program says that, okay, you will have 100,000 tons per year coming out into your landfill. You will need to do this.
Yes.
And then I come and bid and say, okay, I will manage the landfill with a tax of 15 euros. It's not sum that is real. Let's say for the sake of discussion, and we have a tax of 15 euros, and I'm taking into account what the public tender says, that 100,000 tons will come through my gate, and I will have to manage and put it in the landfill. And then this is the final act of the program, because it's integrated, and the other part is collecting. And another public tender is taken place, and another company comes and will collect the waste.
Yes.
And then the same amount is written in the other public tender. 100,000 tons will be collected and transported to the landfill. And now comes another directive. And
that's a new sense of integration, you know.
It's a short
Sorry,
cut.
apologies. Yes.
am I correct, Mr. Damu? Because you can correct me.
Yeah.
And now, because this is the way of the future, we need to reuse all the material that we can. And now the European Union comes and says, okay, you cannot landfill all. You need to recycle 70%.
But of course, this was the idea from the beginning. We never said that Romania has to landfill all. That's why we requested always to have also, you know, infrastructure to complement. Landfilling was, you know, like a backup solution if you want, because we could see that Romania is, you know, here. They need to do a big effort, and okay, we say this is a hand that we, you know, we.
Yes, I understand.
I understand.
The intention was good, but the way that it's applied in Romania right now is wrong, and we need someone from the European Union to tell us how we can manage and how can we integrate this system that was thought about even in a pre-aderation period. And almost 10 years ago, this system was founded and was thought about and was taking place, and the data and the requirements for the European Union targets were different 10 years ago from now. And now, this program, because it will be ending in 2015 this year, this program needs a reboot. Needs someone from the European Union to tell the national public authorities that you need to think this through. And